So I just got finished on watching the first couple episodes of Ahsoka, and these are just going to be my fresh review, my fresh thoughts, right after viewing it, not scripted, just kind of going off my head. If you know me, you know I am a massive, massive Star Wars fan. I absolutely love everything that was done with Star Wars before the mouse got hold of it.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
And I've been very, very critical about just about everything that Disney has done with Star Wars. You know, they haven't been totally terrible. I mean, The Mandalorian was pretty okay at times. I did enjoy Rogue One, but, you know, there's a lot of shit out there. So Ahsoka's the new show, and I gotta be honest, I had no excitement for it at all. Like, just literally none. No anticipation, nothing. And then they drop a trailer with Anakin Skywalker doing a voiceover.
I know you can do this, Ahsoka.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So yeah, I was pretty hyped. And what did this premiere do for me? It just kind of brought me back down to earth. Yeah, it's okay, I guess. There's some stuff the first two episodes does really, really well. And then there's just things that I have major problems with. Things that just I've had problems with all the Star Wars shows. And this one seems to be going down a similar path. And hopefully it won't end up being really bad. But like, it's just going down a path that just does not excite me at all. So I'll start with the pros. This show, honestly, one thing I gotta say is the tone is amazing. This is probably the closest Disney has ever come to matching the tone of the prequels, which is something that I've really wanted to see because they spent so much time trying to recreate the original movies and ignore the prequels. Now with this show, it seems like they're trying to capture the vibe of the prequels, both the way it's shot, with some of the editing stuff, and of course, the sound supervision. I mean, the score for this is just, it screams prequel era score. I mean, that is all great. It really set a certain vibe for me, especially since Ahsoka is a character from the prequel era, although she's not in the prequel movies. She is from that era, and that's where we got to know her, and she was in Rebels for a little bit, but that's where we mainly know her from. Therefore, this should feel sort of like that. And it does, so I give him props, that's great. I also really like the villains here, I guess, kind of. I mean, we don't see all of them, I guess. But there's really these new, I mean, they're not Sith, but they're essentially the dark side users. I don't know either of their names. I know the main actor that plays the main one died in real life, so rest in peace to him. But both characters are fairly interesting. They don't really seem too original yet in the grand scheme of Star Wars. You kind of got, you know, the really stern and serious, you know, master of the dark arts, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then you have the apprentice, who's seems to be this ambitious, you know, loose end, really quiet, controlled human. But I don't know, both were cool enough, and I kind of like the idea that this guy's not just like, you know, they're not trying to make Darth Vader 2.0. They're not trying to make a really dark, evil dude. He just seems to be kind of like this bounty hunter, force user, which, you know, is cool, and his apprentice is cool, and the fights between the apprentice and Sabine, who I'll get into in a second, that fight was okay. They also have an Inquisitor with them, and she has a fight with Ahsoka, or he, I don't really know. They have a fight with Ahsoka. That was really cool. All that stuff is great, so that stuff with the villains, pretty cool. There's also this weird chick who's like this spiritual, other galaxy, I don't know, force user kind of thing. I don't really know how I feel about her character yet. I guess we have to learn more about her. And of course, we're teasing Thrawn, who's the guy from, you know, a big villain from Rebels, who's a big villain in the Legends era. He's really this absolute genius, probably the smartest person in the entire Star Wars universe, and he at some point will be coming back. Another thing I liked about the show, and I already kind of mentioned it, the fights are really cool. Are they prequel level? No, they are not, but they are so much better than the sequel stuff, and I feel like it's like about time. How many years has it been since we've gotten good lightsaber fights and good action? And if this is just the start, the taste of it, oh, I cannot wait. The show also looks good. It doesn't have that cheap feel to it that like the Obi-Wan show had, where that show felt like it was made on a very small budget. This definitely looks and feels really strong. Now let me get into the negatives, because I have quite a few. First off is the show's connection to Rebels. Now I'm gonna be honest, I am not the biggest fan of Rebels. I think it's fine. I think it's really childish. It's not as good as the Clone Wars. It definitely has a lot of good moments, but ultimately it's not a show that I particularly find memorable in any way, shape, or form. And this show, I figured would definitely reference a lot of Rebels and include a lot of the characters from it, but I didn't know it would be essentially like just a new season of Rebels, like a direct sequel to Rebels, and that's exactly what this is. And that makes the series a lot less approachable for general Star Wars audiences that may not have seen Rebels and watched all of it, because there are characters here and clear storylines that you need to know from the past show to really grasp what's going on here. And that's mainly with Sabine, who is really the star of the first two episodes. It's really more of her show than Ahsoka so far, at least when it comes to character and actual characterization and the depth and, you know, what she wants. We know what Sabine wants. We know her struggles. We know her conflict. Ahsoka just kind of seems like this badass chick. We don't really know what Ahsoka wants in this show yet. We know she wants to find Thrawn. We know she wants to, you know, continue the rebellion, you know, fighting the remnants of the Empire, but we don't really know why. Why? I guess, because Ahsoka's a good person. She's a Jedi, but, like, it's gotta go deeper than that, man. Come on. But I just think having to watch in a full animated show that was made for a younger audience, having to know what happened in that show to be able to watch a live-action Ahsoka show is just kind of... I don't want to say disappointing, but it's just, I don't understand the move. And I understand Dave Filoni was in charge of writing this, he created Rebels, so I get that, but I don't know, I found it a lot less presentable. And I already kind of mentioned it, the fact that Ahsoka's character, like, I really wish these first 2 episodes really focused on Ahsoka's character, really gave us an understanding of where her character is, where her mindset is after the fall of the Empire, after the death of Darth Vader, and really gave us more of that. And I didn't get that here, and maybe the next few episodes will dive into that, but I don't know. And that's one of the problems I have with how Disney has handled Star Wars, is they kind of, and especially Rebels, it's one of the things I hated about Rebels, is they sort of wasted a lot of the obvious and great storylines for Rebels. So let me explain a little bit. So, like, what I mean by that is the obvious story for an Ahsoka show 5 years ago. If you were to pitch an Ahsoka show to me 5 years ago, the pitch would be to follow Ahsoka during the Age of the Empire and her going and fighting Darth Vader and realizing that her master had turned into Darth Vader. That is a very, very interesting storyline. You could do something there. And they did. But in Rebels. Therefore, we can't do that in a live action. And then you also don't kill Ahsoka off in the Empire days, meaning that we now have to find an explanation for why she wasn't in the original movies, helping out Luke Skywalker. We also have to build a new reason for her to have a story after the Empire falls, which, you know, is there really a reason? And Rebels also did it with Darth Maul. I mean, if you were to pitch to me 5 years ago what an Obi-Wan show should look like, or an Obi-Wan movie in between episodes 3 and 4, I would have said it would be Darth Maul searching for Obi-Wan and finishing that chapter of the Star Wars story between those 2 characters. There's an interesting story to be told there, and guess what? They did it in Rebels. Therefore, they couldn't do it in the live-action Obi-Wan show, and they had to create a new story out of garbage, out of nothing, and just retold the Episode 3 story again. It was just so stupid. So it seems to me what Disney has done is that they've told their fascinating, interesting, and necessary stories in a lot of the older projects, the animated stuff and some other stuff, and then once they get to these live-action projects, they realize they don't have a necessary story to tell, so they're just kind of inventing shit. And ultimately, it's making the story more over-convoluted for the entire universe. Like, when Star Wars first started, it was a very simple and linear story. You had the Empire, you had the Rebellion, you had Luke Skywalker, you had his father, Darth Vader, and him trying to redeem him, and it was a very simple story. But over the last few years, Disney has really kind of complicated that story, adding so many more elements into the world at that time that it makes you start to question why some of these things didn't appear in the original trilogy. And obviously the answer is because at the time George Lucas was not thinking about this shit. But it's stupid to add convoluted stuff to the story and then spend years trying to explain it through other projects. Like the fact that Ahsoka was alive during this entire period of time and didn't get involved in the main story of the universe is absolutely ridiculous, and there's no way you could really logically explain it and make it make sense. And then the continuous story afterwards, I'm just not buying it so far. It doesn't really make sense for Obi-Wan and Vader to have had a fight before episode 4, to have another fight, another battle. It doesn't really make logical sense. It over-convolutes the story to say that, yeah, actually they did. The same way how the sequels just completely over-convoluted the story, just completely ruined everything by making it so that the Palpatine's not even dead. And these are the issues I'm having with the Ahsoka show so far. Like, yeah, it's setting up some interesting stuff. The fights are cool, it looks good, it sounds good, but I don't see where it's necessary. I don't see where there's an obvious story that needed to be told, and that is my issue with Disney as a whole, and especially with Lucasfilm, is they just make these projects, and I don't think they actually have a story that needs to be told, or a story that anybody's actually excited about. It's just, we're kind of making it up as we go, and Ahsoka, we're gonna make tons of money because people love Ahsoka. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's a real necessary story to be told here. I really hope there's a clear path, and by the time the show's over, I go, wow, I am an idiot. It's obvious that we needed this Ahsoka story, but so far, like, I don't know, there really wasn't even anything memorable with Ahsoka's character from this episode, these 2 episodes. And I really just remember Sabine, a character that most people, like, aren't even gonna remember because they didn't watch Rebels. But I don't know, I'm obviously very frustrated with the current state of Star Wars. The show is good so far. I have the overarching issues with it, but just as a show, it's a little bit slow-paced, but it's entertaining. And I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm probably gonna do reviews for every single episode. Unless it really falls off, then I'm probably just not even gonna watch it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's good so far. Hopefully it gets better. I hope you guys like this video. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Let me know what you guys thought of the episodes down below. Also, make sure to turn on notifications to see every single one of my videos when they come out. And I will see you all in the next one.